What's going on, guys? Back again. It's me, Danny. Different scenery this time. Like I said in one of the other videos, I'm on vacation, but always working. So today I'm sitting down with good friend Ron, and Ron and I have known each other for like a decade ish, something like that. So why don't you go ahead and tell a little about yourself, Ron, and then we'll continue from there.
Well, I had a lot of experiences in my life and getting up there in the years.
Yeah.
I with these last three boys, we've got 10 kids we've raised, and
Yeah.
most of them are out of the house. We still got three here, and
Yeah.
five boys, five girls. Buys my lucky number.
Yeah.
I happily married. Got a couple acres out here in the country, and
Yeah. It's
I'm
nice.
trying to stay here as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
gosh, I've just done a lot of things in my life
Oh,
over the years.
yeah.
You know,
And we'll get around to that here shortly.
yeah.
So you it's a little different story today, but I think it still qualifies along for what we've done so far. So you joined the Air Force in
77.
1977.
November, actually September of 77. My Air Force experience was pretty much brought on by a girl I was dating. Her dad was an Air Force retiree, and he had been a recruiter.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wasn't a recruiter anymore. I mean, of course, they were retired. And I was trying to, I don't know, make a life for us because I wanted to marry her.
Sure. Yeah.
We dated for about a year. And then, well, long story short, when I came home from the service, pretty much if I wasn't good enough for the service, I wasn't good enough for their family. It
Yeah.
wasn't her.
Yeah.
It was her parents. So while I was in basic training, they shipped her off to get a job somewhere in Southern California.
Yeah.
And almost essentially, I never saw her again. But I don't know. I went into the service thinking I would work on the automatic flight systems. And,
Sure. Sure.
learn some electronics and have something to move on in the world. And I was like thinking, it was cool. I kept meeting so many people that had been retirees from the military and they had an income.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I thought, well, that'd be a nice place to end up,
Yeah.
And then from that point, I figured if I did like 20, then I could go on
Sure.
with something else. But I would give it a 4-year shot and see how I felt.
Yeah.
Lots of people go in the military thinking the same thing.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
And, I went in, went through all the interesting same stuff through the AFES, got down there. In the AFES, the examiner had noticed, some issues with my feet. I had some bones a little short, making a toe sit back and up a little
Yeah.
bit. But he didn't really say much. He just wrote down his identifying marks, like a tattoo or a scar or something, And that's as far as it went there. I went into basic training. I was in pretty good shape when I got there. I had been, sparring with a guy boxing, and so I did a lot of running and all this. So when I got there, I was like, I'm getting out of shape. These people won't even let me run. I've been here for 3 days,
Yeah.
I was getting a little like, hey, and
Stir crazy.
they said, well, we're going to start out with a quarter mile. I'm like, quarter mile?
Done.
That's before breakfast, dude. I'm like,
Yeah.
I was doing, it was like 3.5 miles from my house to my friend's house and 3.5 miles back. And so I'd run up there, we'd work out for a while. He'd beat the pulp out of me.
Yeah.
And then I'd run back a while. So when I get down to basic training, I get a quarter mile. It's like, no. Can I just have a couple more miles? And,
Yeah.
Nope, can't let you do that.
Yeah.
Shit.
It's fine. Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of tough for that start. Well, time progressed. You went through school. You got to learn all this stuff. Like anybody else, I went through basic. Air Force basic was probably a little easier than some people's.
Sure.
It was too easy for me physically at the time. I expected more, and didn't get it. But you heard the war stories. But basic training in those days became 6 weeks. Previous to that, it was like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And so these guys would really get run over the physical rocks. They just got beat to death to get in shape. So I had also previously kind of was doing all this running thinking,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get in shape because it's going to be tough. And it was like, well, I made it quite a ways in. I think I had probably about 8 days left for graduation.
Yeah.
And I'm, kind of limping around. I had this tendency next to the ball of my foot, I would get this callus growing in there. It really got painful.
Yeah.
And I just take my pocket knife and cut it out. They took all that stuff from us, That's with our rainbow clothes, We're now green baggy dudes,
Yeah.
And pretty much I talked to my TI about it. They weren't, that's what we called them there, training instructors.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he sent me to the infirmary. And this, I guess the guy was a major, I think, or colonel. I think he was a colonel, and he had both birds on one collar, kind of thing. I joke about that, but he looked at that. He never even treated it. He just looked at the bones on my feet, and he was like, "Let me see your hands." And I showed them to him, and he said, "How'd you get into service with all this?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "They wrote it down as identifying marks.
Yeah.
You have any problems? A normal doctor interest."
Yeah.
And then he said, "Well, I think you have, pseudo-hypoparathyroidism."
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, hypoparathyroidism is where your body doesn't put out enough of this, so you don't grow your bones like you should, and that's why your toes are that way. And the knuckles on my hands sit back almost the same ones as the toes, second from the little. And he said, if I had hypoparathyroidism, not only would they have not grown normal, they will die early. They'll just start disintegrating like in my 30s, and by the time I'm in my 40s, I won't be able to use my hands or feet.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's never happened to anybody in my family before.
Yeah.
My brother has feet like this, and my dad has feet like this, and my dad was in the Navy. My brother, of course, he was extremely fat. They didn't take him in the military during Vietnam.
Yeah.
He did get drafted, but then they 4F, see ya.
Yeah.
Two of my brothers got drafted, but the other one, long story. But he didn't serve either. He chose to go another route, and they allowed it because of, I don't know, he's a brainiac. But anyway, he decided that the service didn't need to take a chance on me having a bone disease. And And so he said, do you want to go home? And I was like, well, not necessarily and stuff. He goes, well, I'm going to send you back to talk to your CO about all this. And I said, well, do I have to worry about this? He goes, I'm not going to talk to you about it because we're not going to treat you for this. I was like, okay. So I went back to my CO, and he said, you got your choice. You can stay here and be here forever, and you're never going to get out of basic training until this is settled.
Yeah.
The hard part is inside we aren't going to provide you with the medical investigation on your problem or what potential you're kind of like fighting against us because this colonel wants to send you out. And he said, so if you go out, you can use your medical records on the outside and whatever and try to get in, or you can stay here and fight this. You'll probably get out anyway. Yeah. And I never thought about, well, if I stay in like 6 months, I'll definitely get benefits. That wasn't even a thought. Yeah. It wasn't like I'm here to get something extra. And I'll just hang out and then let them kick me out. So it sounded pretty convincing to get out, go to the VA, work with them to try to get back in. Yeah. When I could prove through my medical records that, family records and all this, that this isn't going to be a problem. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when I went back to see this guy at the infirmary, I had to tell him, he said, do you want to get out of the military? And I said, yeah, I'll go out. Yeah. So he put in my record, which I didn't know at that time, patient wants out of the Air Force. Yeah. Well, no, patient is accepting out of the Air Force, the way I felt about it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I came home. I was kind of downtrodden about it. It was depressing. I went down to the VA and talked to them about it, and they said, well, here's your course. We need it. So, I got some things from my doctors and some x-rays and and we went down there and we had this little, case set up where she was getting hold of the, I forgot what they call them, the surgeon general. Sure. And we were sending letters to them, asking them. Well, they put me down on my DD-14, and they gave me an honorable discharge. I got the same plaque everybody else gets after their time in. Yeah. And my DD-214s all said, it was honorable service, and pretty much went to basic training and got out. Yeah. it said I was RE4, which is ineligible for future service.
Yeah.
That's all it says. And so this gal, I remember her name was Fox, and she worked at the VA. She said essentially an RE4 makes you ineligible for future service. And if it was a 3 or a 2, we could get a waiver, we could do this, we could do that, and get you back in. And you prove that, and you just have to finish basic training the last week or whatever it is, and off to school. We can reinstate your contract and go on. Well, she sent letters, and because it was a 4, she was trying to get the Surgeon General to up it to a 3 or 2, and 7 years. I mean, it was like on and off every so many months. I would go see her and talk to her, and this is what she got, or she got nothing, and we'd write another letter, we'd do something else, we'd send to somebody else, and just nothing. I mean, so I got angry. This is never going to happen. I'm never going to get back in. I'm going to be too old by the time they do something.
By the time they let you in, yeah.
I think 31 was the cutoff back then or something. And
yeah, it's still something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't change that.
Your mid-30s, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So, I got angry, and I was getting rowdy, and I didn't live the greatest of lives. I always had a job, but I hung around with some questionable people doing questionable things. And, well, I went from there to pretty much trying to, I met a gal, I got married. It was a long story there, how I met her and whatever. But anyway, we didn't know each other very long. We were married within 6 weeks, And that was pretty fast, kind of caught my parents off guard. But started me on the road of thinking about family and maybe I should straighten my life out and stay away from those questionable friends, which I love those guys. They were a great brotherhood of friends.
Yeah.
And they were devoted friends, but the activities were not very conducive to a
they were pretty questionable
family lifestyle. And here I was getting married. That's the start of a family to me.
Yeah.
It's where I come from. So stopped, went off, straightened their lives up, started going back to church and doing the right stuff. And I thought, man, I started feeling guilty a few years in about, I can never tell my kids some of the stuff that I was involved in, or, I felt bad about that. It was like here I had gone into the military thinking I'm going to serve my country. And then I came out and was a burden on society. And it was like, okay, the scale's leaning in the wrong direction. I got to do something. And so later, I had met this friend, Roger. He's was a horseshoer. He's a Vietnam vet, really nice guy. He worked for the sheriff's department part-time, and he said, have you ever thought about that? We were just in conversation about things, And I thought, so that kind of stuck in my craw, and so I went back later and talked to him again, and he kept saying, you need to sign up, you need to go join, you need to try. And he explained to me about how to get through the academy, how to do this, how to do that it wasn't as hard as people think it was. And I remember when I went in the military, I was kind of like, man, can I make it through basic training? And then I thought, millions of people have been through basic training before me and made it. So yes, I could physically do that. Well, the same thing with this academy. Lots of people go through the academy and make it. Some don't, but lots do.
Most do, yeah.
I think I had what it takes. I had a good moral compass, if nothing else. I think I was developing that back.
Yeah.
My family had raised me to be a pretty good person, and try. Honesty was a real big part of it. That's why it's kind of hard to talk to my kids sometimes about my past because I don't want to say certain things. And, but anyway, I decided I would start doing that. I was driving truck during the day, and so I started taking, back then they had a lot of part-time academies, and I found Yuba College had started a part-time academy.
Yeah.
And this academy was evenings and weekends, and it was a couple of, 3 nights a week, and Saturday and Sunday both. Yeah. And I figured, it's like 6 months of that. It's a long time. But to get your hours in that you have to get certain certificates. And you could get them along the way. So like some certificates they gave you as soon as you finished that class, and then we went on to a new class.
Yeah.
So you start getting...
They start picking up
certifications along the way, and then you get the final on the academy when you're done. Well, those certifications allowed me to go ahead and apply for Sutter County as a Class 2 reserve and, work up from there.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
Yeah.
I went ahead and once I got my God, 232. I can't remember what it covers, but it was like laws of search, arrest, and seizure, and things like that. Once you get, and then there was like weapons and, certain chemical weapons and
Yeah.
baton and all this stuff they give you all these certificates for. So then I could go and be with another deputy patrolling around as like a backup instantly on the process. And so I started that. Once I finished the academy, I could go out by myself, but because I was already involved in that, they just raised me up to a level 1 and said, you can go out by yourself now if you want, or you can stay with a partner.
Yeah.
I like the partner thing. It was
Sure.
a lot safer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I talk a lot. So it was better to have someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And so, that was in 86. So I had waited several years before I got involved in it. I had done, when I came home, I pretty much went back into body and fender work when I came home from basic training.
Yeah.
And did that for a while. And then I got into this truck driving thing right around, 81, 80. I had started hauling propane, and then I got in this chemical company. Well, then I didn't quit my day job when I started with the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
So I would come home, fly into the shower, throw on a uniform, and back out the door to go get in a patrol car. And, I didn't sleep for like 8 years. Weekends when I was off, and this sort of thing. But my schedule was very rotating. They would make it up, and then people wouldn't show. They'd call me and say, "Can you take so-and-so shift? He's not going to be able to do this," and people had other lives.
Sure.
Yeah, so I mean, there were times when I patrolled 8 nights in a row and overlapped. Like I'd already patrolled or drove truck 2 days, and then 3 days of that was driving truck. Then the weekend came, and I was still patrolling at night.
Yeah.
You kept going, and back to work on Monday. So I would sleep on Saturday and Sunday mornings, and well, I ended up with a sleep disorder and a divorce. The divorce had nothing to do with my time. That's a whole nother subject. But I made it work. Until 93. In 93, emotional situation of her leaving and I took a leave of absence from the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
And then not too many months later, I guess it was about 5 months later, I got laid off on my truck driving job I'd been with all that time.
Yeah.
Ooh. And so I was like, oh, man, what am I going to do? But in the process of when I didn't have the sheriff's department, I met my wife now, had been dating her. So when I was out of work and all that, I said, I'm going to go where there's some work. And my cousin's up in Idaho. I said, come up here, so went up there for a year. When she found out I was leaving, she said, I'm going with you. And it was like, oh, okay. So first chance we got, as soon as her divorce was final and my divorce was final, we got married.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. And so here we ended up in Boise. And then later we came back and ended up getting my kids.
Yeah.
But that was like 6 months after we got back.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of different. We were back in California. I got a letter from the sheriff's department, and they said, you need to come back to work.
Yeah.
We need you to fill the spot, or let us fill the spot with somebody else. Make up your mind. So while I'm thinking about this, Rory was my wife. She was like, well, I did and didn't marry a cop. You weren't active at all when I met you.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-law enforcement, but I'm anti 2 guys knocking on the door saying you got lead poisoning.
Yeah.
And I was like, And so it was a decision. She says, I will support you in what you do, but I didn't have a say-so whether you became a cop in the beginning or not.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, please consider me in your decision. So I was going to give it a couple of days and think about it. Well, I think God made up my mind because I was walking across my front room and my right ACL snapped and I fell on the floor.
Yeah.
Just like that. I had heard it in 88. Jumping a hurdle testing for Yuba City PD. A lot of cops do this. They'll go test for other agencies, maybe to get a better job.
Sure,
or
yeah.
maybe not. Maybe just to see that they're could.
Yeah, there's options out there. Yeah.
And that's why I was doing it. And I had twisted a knee kind of funny. Well, it got weaker and weaker over the years.
Sure.
And then finally here, it snapped.
Yeah.
I had stretched a bunch of stuff in it. So it was always a little loose after that, but I could still run, still chase bad guys,
Yeah.
So when it popped, I was like, oh, crap, this is going to be like a year. And they want me back now. I had to resign from the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
But going back into like when I was there, yeah, it was a lot of stress and strain on the body, but it was something that was very satisfactory to me. It was something, I jokingly say it was the first one on that side of the law in my family.
Yeah.
My dad always joked about how we had a lot of outlaws in our family. And they weren't like, everybody was a working person pretty much.
Yeah.
But, you know, some of them poached animals
Sure.
to eat. But my dad was raised during the Depression. You know,
What else are you supposed to do?
people were struggling, you
Yeah.
know. Who got a hunting license? You just went out and shot a pheasant, brought her home to eat dinner. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what people did, you know. And so, so that was kind of a joke among things, because I was actually, as far as I know, I mean, there were some soldiers, but very few people in our family had ever been law enforcement.
Yeah.
You know, security in a couple of places, muscle in a few places.
Yeah.
You know, I've even done that myself. Worked helping bouncers out at bars and stuff like that. You know, long story, but no, I don't know. Law enforcement was, you know, a little bit of a satisfying to that need I had.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I just learned a lot about people. You know, going through the academy was one thing. You know, you learned a lot of stuff that you didn't know. Like, at one point, they took all of us and we had nightsticks and they had bags hanging in the gym room, you know, and all this. And there's like, go over there and when I blow the whistle, beat that bag as hard as you can, as long as you can,
Yeah.
you know. And we're going to show you how long. And I've always kind of had an idea of boxing rounds, how long they are, you know, and
Yeah.
standing up there and throwing punches for minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes sometimes, depending on what your
Sure. What you're doing? Yeah.
situation, you know. So I knew a little more than some of these guys that the aptitude, having the stamina to do this very long. And so these guys, they get up there and they're beating the hell out of this bag with a baton, you know. And then all of a sudden, you know, they can't raise their arm up anymore. They're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
They turn around and he goes, 40 seconds, keep going. You know, 40 seconds,
Yeah.
shit. You
Yeah.
know? That's all, you know.
Yeah.
It felt like it was an hour,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, it's not easy, you
Yeah.
know.
Definitely not.
But the thing that they were trying to show you was when you're on the street in a fight with somebody, you know, you want to come home to your kids, so you better make yourself strong enough to last as long as them. 'Cause
Absolutely,
a lot
yeah.
of these guys have been sitting behind bars, pumping iron, building their stamina for years. They get out,
Yeah.
they just love to fight with the cop because they're not going to lose this time.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you want them to lose.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately. The beneficial part about having a partner was, you know, you had this instant backup right on the thing. Well, I was a pretty big guy, and so when I put my body armor on under my uniform, I was just that much bigger.
Yeah.
You know, and then my partner, a little shorter than I was, but he's a stocky built guy, same thing, put on his body armor. We were pretty awesome looking. You know,
Yeah.
We walk into a bar, they had to think twice about whether they want to keep fighting.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Definitely.
And then later he went canine. So guess who else had to go to training? Me.
Yeah.
Had to go down there and learn the same things he was learning, because if something happened to him, I had to control the dog.
Yeah.
So I had to learn the language. I had to learn the thing. So I'm going to apply this. I went home and got a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
Started teaching her, you know, and from, you know, that was kind of how my interest in German Shepherds and training
Yeah.
came to be, you know.
Yeah.
But so same scenario. We walk into a bar fight, two big guys and a big black dog.
Yeah.
You know, pass off. Whoa, whoa, whoa. They all stop. Nobody wants to get bit by Rin Tin Tin.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know? They're like, oh, wow, Rin Tin Tin. Most people don't know who that is. That was a dog in a TV series years ago that was the hero.
Yeah.
Kind of like Lassie on steroids. You know. But yeah, be surprised. And when we got called to stuff, we even got asked to come help other counties, like problem at the Butte County Fair, and we're in Sutter County.
Yeah.
Jump in the car with the
gotta
dog.
head over there.
Head over there. You know, we get about halfway there, and they'd say the problem's over. You know, and we just left Sutter County into Butte County, and turn around and come back. You know.
Yeah.
And from one end of the county to the other is a pretty good drive. You know, and we were in the South Beat. We were up against Sacramento County to the south of us. We had Placer County to the east of us. Yolo County to the west, and Yuba County to the north. So we had to go across Yuba County to get from Sutter, and then get to the edge of Butte. You could stay in Sutter County and go right up to the edge of Butte County. But yeah, lots of times we were called to be back up to Yuba County or Butte County because we had a dog, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's one of those sacrifices you make.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. But I've always treasured that time with an animal, you know, like that was so devoted to, I ran into my partner probably, I hadn't seen him in years, about 5 months ago, over at Lowe's in Chico.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him about old Sydney, and that was the dog, Sydney
Yeah.
Vicious. You know,
That's great.
well, he got in trouble in training because he'd say "Sid this, Sid that." Well, in German, you say it 2 ways to sit. You say "Sitz" or "Satz," one of the two. And so when you're saying "Sitz," Sid sounded too much like it. So the dog sometimes would sit down when you called his name. You know, so he said you're going to have to call him by his whole name, Sydney.
Yeah.
So he makes the difference between that and seats, you know. But anyway, Sydney was a good old boy.
Yeah.
I just lots of fun with him at night, you know. And then you meet these other canine deputies. I met a couple of guys. Ray, he was real rank guy. He just had an angry attitude all the time. He had been in Vietnam, and it was pretty rough on him, you know, but he was a training instructor for people going to Vietnam, you know, and so he was the guy saying, I'm going to help you. Hang on to those things between your legs because they're going to get shot up if you don't listen to me, you know. But he had a dog, and some of the stories he would tell were so hilarious about, you know, the illegal fishermen down in there. You guys down in there fishing? No, nobody else down here. And he'd say, go play, send the dog out there. And they're like, don't send your dog down because they know there's guys down there, you know, and they're lying to you. And so all these guys come running up over the levee screaming, the dog's chasing around, you know. Fun stuff, you know. Yeah, law enforcement, it's a little different than the military life. I'll give you that. I mean, you got to be in shape. You're constantly in contact with the public. But there's different rules, you know. Like I knew a lot of guys in the Air Force that I went to church with. They came off the base to go to church where I did, and talking to one guy was like VIP protection. So he traveled all over the world, and sometimes he was in civilian clothes carrying like an Uzi under his elbow. You know, but he's watching ambassadors and stuff. So it just depended on where they sent him to do stuff. So we had a lot of war stories to tell to each other and stuff, and that was pretty cool. But talking about like base protection, they were taught, wound these people so we can question them. Don't kill them if you don't have to. If somebody was sneaking on the base or something like that. We were taught center mass. People on the ground, don't shoot back. A whole different outlook on it.
Sure.
But the biggest thing was, I always joked about this, but back when I was a kid and when my kids were little, we had Saturday morning cartoons. And it's like, if you were fighting with somebody and they hit you in the mouth and your tooth busted, you swallow it and keep fighting because you want to get up on Saturday morning and watch cartoons with your kids, know. These guys just don't want to go behind bars, Well, so that's kind of where it was at. Being formidable size, I think, got me out of a lot of fights. I didn't have that many in 9 years. It was about 7.5, 8 years actually that we did this. Didn't have that many fights. I was pretty fortunate to that, and some of them really just didn't last very long, Not very big people, and go ahead and swing at me while I pick you up, turn you over, flop you on the car, and handcuff your butt. So, and a lot of it also would deal with how you handled them when they started getting that stance and breathing hard. It's like, hey, dude, I'm not judging you. And they're like, what? Because here they're thinking you're going to say, I'm taking you down. No, I'm not judging you. I'm just the garbage collector, okay? I have a piece of paper that says, take you down there. They're going to judge. You'll probably back out on the street before I get out of doing the paperwork. Anything to make them feel like, not fighting about it. Let's just gently go, and that worked a lot of the time. Just persuasion, being nice to them. Some of the things these guys would talk about in the cars on the way up there.
I bet.
It's just funny, They'd pop up. To them, it was a game. I remember this one training sergeant when I was first with the sheriff's department. This guy took off running. He was telling me the story. This happened to him like the night before. And this guy went over chain link fencing, and Jess went over the chain link fence. He was a sergeant, and he was Air Force before MP, kind of thing, and. Right over another chain link fence. And he went over another chain link fence. He says, "We got the third fence," and I was already winded. I was like, "I'm not chasing this guy anymore." Took his flashlight out and threw it at the guy. Well, it's a deadly weapon when you throw it, but hits the guy square between the shoulder blades. He falls off the fence, right? So Jess goes over and handcuffs his butt. They're in the patrol car, and the guy said, "Who threw the flashlight at me?" "I did." He goes, "That was a good shot." I mean, it was all a joke after that, I mean, this is the way some of these people were, you know. Yeah. They're just human beings, and they're on the wrong side of things, And then sometimes when you talk to people, I mean, I'm not Dog the Bounty Hunter, but you talk to these people on their way. You know what? This can all go away. Just get it done. Go to court. A lot of times we're picking people up for failure to appear. FTP or FTA, failure to pay, failure to appear, that sort of thing, or stupid warrants. I remember one gal, gosh, gorgeous. My kind of gal. She was a mechanic. She had no fingernails. Yeah. It was an accidental finding her. She came down from Oregon to visit. She's flying down the highway. She wasn't driving. Yeah. She had driven down to her friend's house. Her and her friend and her friend's, I don't remember if they were married, whatever. Her friend's guy were going to go out. So he said, "Well, let's get this other guy, friend of mine." So it'll be 4 people. Yeah. And she didn't really like the guy that came, but she let her friend's husband or boyfriend, whatever he was, drive the car. This was a hot rod Camaro she had built. I'm driving along in a patrol car. Now, this is a wagon because we had a dog in the back. It was one of those Malibus that was round back in the 90s. And it had, small light bar on it. So it didn't look like much. This guy comes up on me. He's doing like 95 miles an hour. Yeah. I'm going 70. Yeah. He comes by me, and so I'm like, brave sucker. I mean, I saw him in the mirror, and I'm like, wow, that set of headlights is flying towards us, So as he goes by, I turn on the lights, and he just pulls over in front of me. He realizes as he went by that there's an emblem on the door of that car. Oh, crap, Yeah. They pull over. So, of course, we're talking to everybody, and whose car is this? Oregon plate. She said, "It's mine." Well, anybody you talk to, you get their ID. So I get her ID, so we run her. She's got a warrant for a ticket she left in California when she moved to Oregon, like 5 years previous. I'm like, oh, crap, Yeah. So now I got to go up and tell this woman that I'm going to have to arrest her, Yeah. So we take her. She gets in the patrol car, and they go on their way. We write the guy the ticket. I just, went easy on him so I wouldn't have to tow the car and arrest everybody. Yeah. Or provide rides. And then... So off they went. They're going to meet us in Yuba City and get her out of jail because they're going to get OR again. And that's how they do traffic warrants. And so as we're driving along, my partner says to me, "So how are you doing on your engine, And, I just buttoned the heads on last night. I said, "This is going to be sweet when it's done." Bam! Her face hits the screen. "What are you building?" 350 Chevrolet. I'm putting my 55. And she's like, "Oh, wow. You know what I do? Me and my dad, we build pull trucks. We build Dodges, the like half-inch thick head gaskets and, 400 pounds compression in a cylinder kind of thing, Big, massive 400 horsepower is a tiny engine. They're building 600 and 700, 800 horsepower pull trucks, And so now we're talking and stuff, and now she's having a good time. She said, "This is great, man. I was so bored with those people. None of them talk cars. I just went to visit my friend. He got stuck into this, and now I'm on my way to jail." I said, "They're going to let you out. We just have to take you, And then, so when we get up there, she's like, "So what are you doing when I get out? Get rid of these people. We can get together, go have some coffee, talk cars, And I was like, "Can't do it. Gotta go home. Got a wife." Damn it. Not really. Yeah. But she did leave like 4 months later, and I was like, damn it. Where was this gal 4 months later? Yeah. Not really. Yeah. But yeah, that was, I mean, a lot of people like that, they're not bad people. They're just something behind them that they got they haven't dealt with. And she forgot all about it. They were moving to Oregon. She didn't even, and obviously the reminder got mailed to where she used to live. So yeah, it's kind of cool. But
it's interesting. It's just like the random people or stuff that you meet just by having to do your job. Yeah, it's
especially when you're in a job like that.
Yeah, where you deal with people every day, all day long.
Your whole thing is to go out and investigate the public.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've pulled over like county councilmen for blowing stop signs at 70. You know, and then they say to me, "Why aren't you out catching real criminals?" You just blew a stop sign at 70. You're a real criminal, you know. I mean,
you're a real criminal.
I'm
now.
out here to stop people from breaking laws, including traffic laws, which you just broke.
Yeah.
So I am totally within my rights. I mean, I have had.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the department because this should never go back. Another department's chief. It was a police department.
Yeah.
He's boogieing up the highway at like 90. We don't know who it is. It's a red car with some antennas on it. Right? We have no idea who this is. He's going 90. We got a prisoner in the car. All right. This is a guy with a warrant. I don't even remember who it was. It was so many years ago. We're cruising 65-70 trying to get up to the sheriff's department, get him out, and get back to our beat, because just to go up there and back, you lose 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's a chunk of time that
big chunk of time,
Yeah, our beat is unprotected, or nobody in there.
Nobody's out there, yeah.
And so we call it in, Well, unannounced to us, this guy's listening because he has all the radios of all the local departments and and so the watch commander for the night, the sergeant in charge of everything, you know, and all these people are jumping into cars and heading that way because they're like, oh shoot, we're going to get into a big old pursuit thing, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so they told us, you're going to hand this off to us because you're behind them, but you're going to pull them over, and as soon as somebody's there, you're out of there because you got somebody in your car we don't want at that scene.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Understandable, totally. So they tell us, hit the lights. Well, just as we get ready to hit the lights, he starts pulling over. And he gets on the radio and talks to our watch commander and says, I want you down here right now.
Yeah.
You know? And he's denying that he was going 95. We clocked him. We followed him for miles at 95 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was going 75. And I said, the speed limit's 55. And he's like, if I wanted any lip from you, you know.
Yeah.
And he tells us who he is, of course, you know, and we're like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What makes you above the law? You were going 95 and a 55.
Yeah.
I was going 75 and a 55. Still speeding, dude.
Still 75, yeah.
You know, you're admitting it to all of us standing here.
Yeah.
And he's like writing our names down. I'm going to have your badge and your badge and your badge by tomorrow morning. Well, our sheriff at the time used to be the number 2 at that department.
Yeah.
So he's thinking, I got an in with the sheriff. I'm going to fix these dudes for pulling me over.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, you know, and karma has a way of handling things. But so we actually got attaboys from the sheriff for not taking his bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nobody ticketed him. We didn't want to go down that road. It was just easier just to cut him loose with an admonishment to drive more normal.
Yeah.
And, you know, and top it off, I mean, the whole thing was just really weird. But I don't know if I should go to the story of what happened after that. But one of our deputies, who was my partner's best friend.
Sure,
He had started with Sutter. He got hired by one of the other departments.
Yeah.
He got called to a sports bar parking lot for people fighting in a car. Well, it wasn't people fighting in a car. It was a couple getting boisterous in a car.
Oh.
Okay. And the lady turned out to be that chief of police's wife with somebody else.
Ugh.
And so thinking about how he treated us, he had just got to Marysville PD. He just put her ID right out over the radio over all 4 departments there. Yeah. Kind of.
That's funny.
Yeah. But I just said that was karma, you know.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why the guy was so grouchy. You know. So yeah, those things happen.
Yeah.
You know?
It's great.
It's kind of bizarre. I mean, I could tell you war stories all night about what happened down there.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
You know, I went to church a lot, and I'd get these gut instincts about stuff. And, you know, I jokingly called it my spidey sense, you know, and I was like, we got to be careful on this one, man. I'm feeling kind of weird about this, you know.
Yeah.
My partner used to say it was my sixth sense, and he would tell everybody, my partner, he's got sixth sense, man. You know? But it's like, watch out. We got to watch out. Something's weird here, you know. We'd be getting out of the car, and there'd be 4 guys standing over there, and I see a guy reaching into his truck over here to pull a shotgun out of the back window. And I'm yelling, God! Instantly, My
Yeah.
partner's sliding across the hood of the truck,
Yeah.
smacks the dude and takes the shotgun away from him. Well, he wasn't trying to use it. He was trying to hide it from us. He
Yeah.
thought he'd get in trouble for having it in the back window.
Yeah.
They're farmers. We're not going to say a word. We're in a farm
Yeah.
community out in the middle of nowhere. And that was one of those nights where Ray took the night off. He had beat 9. We had beat 10. So we got beat 9 and 10.
Yeah.
That's 650 square miles of patrol town,
Yeah.
Oh, shit. It wasn't like our beat wasn't big enough.
Exactly. Yeah,
so we
yeah.
had everything over on the other side of the river down in Robbins all the way to the county line by Knight's Landing, and from Dingville, that's what it used to be called. There was a village there at one time. But
Yeah.
not Dingerville up by Orville.
Yeah.
Dingville down there. It was so funny. I was good friends with Congressman Wally Herger. And I don't know if I should mention their names, but Wally and I
too
go
late
way
now.
back. I worked for him at one time hauling propane. They had a propane company and a ranch. And
Yeah.
I made the mistake of, I know how to ride a horse, so I got to work on the ranch too.
Oh.
But anyway, I remember when Wally would be talking to these people down at the state.
Yeah.
And he'd say, well, I'm from Rio Oso. And they'd say, where is that? Well, he would jokingly say, it's between Dingville and Nicholas. What are you, new to California?
Yeah.
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 Most people don't know where Nicholas is, let alone Dingville.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Boy, I'll tell you. So, learned a lot in that job. That was the thing. It was a very people-oriented job. And you met people of all kinds of situations.
Of course, yeah.
I feel like I had an exemplary record when I left there, which was a very satisfying thing for me. It was an attaboy on top of everything else,
Sure.
with my life. And so when I left that, at first it was a little rough, when I turned in my resignation because they kind of pushed it to that, you know.
Yeah.
And rumors got around like they did. Like I talked to people later and they're going, well, there was something really bad that made you leave, right? I was like, no. They thought that I didn't like the new sheriff or got in an argument with one of my higher ups or something.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. Nothing like that. I've never had a problem with anybody there. The closest thing I ever came to something, I was actually totally defended on by my captain. So
Yeah.
it was a oh shit that came in. That's a letter of oops, you did something wrong.
Yeah.
But I hadn't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
It was a matter of perception, and it was just really weird because the lady, we had extremely helped her. She was walking out in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night with a little kid and nothing. What she was upset about was, what we had done with her is she wanted to go back to Sac County. And we got a Sac County deputy to meet us at the line and provided her transportation to him. And from him, he took her transportation back to her grandpa's. She was a little simple-minded, and these people had talked her into living with them, and they had taken all her money and paid their rent, and then booted her, and they had all of her belongings. And she had moved from her grandpa's house to there,
Yeah.
and she wanted us to go back and get them. Patrol and civil are two different things. We don't do that, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So we explained to her that if she called the sheriff's department in the morning, they would line her up with a civil deputy, and he would meet her somewhere, and they could go over together and get her stuff.
Yeah.
And anything beyond that, if they refused or whatever, he would be a witness for her that they refused, and she would have to go to a civil court and order and blah,
Sure,
blah, blah.
yeah.
But most likely in those situations, the people just give you your stuff. They don't want to mess with it, Well, we thought that was good enough, but she wrote a letter to the sheriff saying, your troopers, which we weren't troopers or deputies,
Yeah.
your troopers wouldn't help me. Well, in a matter of perception, no, we weren't going to help her do that. But we did help her. We took her off the street at 3 o'clock in the morning in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Kind of scary being out. I mean, when we drove by, we were like, that lady's carrying a baby.
Yeah.
Turn around, go back, The heck, what are you doing out here in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
And so, you can't leave her out there. You just can't. I mean,
Well, yeah.
The
Situations are scary like that in the middle of nowhere. Like, even like when I was 15 or 16, driving down Larkin, you'd see somebody walking on the side of the road and you're like, should I stop? No. And
I always went with the spirit, is what I would say. The feeling you get, that sixth sense. And so, I had been developing it a lot through my life previous to any of this. I always had thoughts along that line. And, maybe religion falls into it a little bit, maybe not.
Sure.
But trusting your feelings and trusting God will give you the correct feelings.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
And hopefully He isn't setting you up to get a lesson in life,
Yeah.
But I would see somebody hitchhiking and I would say yes, and I'd pull them over. Or if I felt no, I'm not going to feel guilty, I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Because you never know. I mean, but later, when times started changing to where they are like now, I tell the kids, nope.
Yeah.
The most I would do is stop and say something to them. Do you need me to call somebody for you?
Yeah.
I would even stop my car far back if I saw a lady near a car. I don't want to scare her.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to pull up or get out and walk up and surprise her. I just, hey, and they look at you. Can I call somebody to get you some help? Nope. Most people have their own cell phones nowadays, But there are times when they don't, you know, and I just remember some of the situations that happened. And one guy we chased on foot, PCP. He was on the side of the road. Lady comes down the hill. He's standing out there waving at cars. No T-shirt, barefoot. Just got jeans on. And she's like, what the heck happened to him? So she stops, rolls down her passenger window to talk to this guy a little bit. And he's like, I need your car. And she's like, oh, no. I can get you some help, but, Well, she starts rolling up the window. It's electric, right? And he grabs the window. Well, it gets all the way up to where his hands are caught in it. And he's trying to break the glass. So she punches.
Yeah.
So she's dragging him down the road, So she gets smart enough to push that window down a little bit. And he slides off and she goes and she calls us. Right? Yeah. So, we come out of the woodwork, This guy's walking down the side of the road and it drug some of his toes off. Oh. I mean, it was that bad. Okay. Oh. All right. So we see this guy with bloody feet now walking along. T-shirt all scratched up. No T-shirt. I mean, he's all scratched up. We pull up. He takes one look at us and he's like, pew, the other direction. Well, right down the street from where all this happened as you come off the Bear River Bridge into my beat. Yeah. Mr. Beets used to live there. His last name is Beets, 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 and he had Beets Trucking. So there's all these diesel trucks parked out there. Yeah, he's sitting in his front room watching a football game. Yeah, and this guy takes off running for his house. Yeah, right. He hits that front door, and it was like a linebacker. He took it right off the hinges. Blam! Boom! Yeah, the door. I mean, and Mr. Beets is like, "Holy shit!" As this guy barrels through his house, right? Yeah, and 3 deputies right after him. Yeah, me and my partner. And yeah. He goes into the dining room, and we go into the dining room, and he's running. He runs right through the sliding glass door at the back of the house. Now he's bleeding everywhere. Yeah. And he's on a dead run across the orchard, and we're like, holy crap, this guy's going to bleed to death before we stop him. Get out there and get him tackled. It takes all 3 of us to get him handcuffed, and we're sitting on him so he won't get up, and without his hands, he's not really able to throw us off very much, although he's bucking around. Till we get a couple more people there and an ambulance, and they give him something to
calm him down.
Knock him down. Yeah. Get that bull under control. Yeah. And off he goes, and it's like, you do not realize the immense strength these people have when they're on drugs. Yeah. And so when you're out there on patrol, you never know when you're going to run into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never. Yeah. Anytime. And fortunately, the few times we have, I've been lucky. That nobody got hurt. Yeah. Except the perp or whatever you want to call him, the suspect. Sure. Yeah. But my God, run right. And this guy turned out to be like a pretty decent guy, as I think somebody slipped him something, or who knows. Yeah. I never really did get much follow-up on that.
Sure,
The other deputy that was with me and my partner when we got there, he was the one that got the original call, and we were back up, so he got to write the report.
But, what a report to write.
Yeah. But I mean, I could not believe what was left of that front door when that dude went through it. I mean,
it's crazy.
I mean,
what's the kind of stuff you see in movies? Like they portray in movies where somebody kicks in your front door, and then you're just sitting there watching TV, and then you just see like one dude run by, and then 3 cops run by, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here?
Poor like, Mr. Beets, he's like, holy shit,
Yeah. It's crazy. That's pretty funny. Yeah.
Don't hurt the dog on your way out.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Weird stuff. Yeah. Mr. Beets wasn't a young man. He was probably in his 70s then. I know he's gone now, but you know, damn. Yeah. It called all kinds of stuff. It called out there in the middle of the night for things and to show up. I mean, on off-duty nights. Yeah. the thing that they knew at the sheriff's department, me compared to some of the other guys assigned to the south end down there, was that they could depend on me. If they called me, I was going.
Yeah.
If some of these other guys would be in the middle of something and they couldn't go, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't have that much. I put more weight on them needing help because my partner's involved, and these other people, the other deputies out there, they might need somebody. I mean, and I've showed up to scenes before just wearing my little blue jacket that says sheriff on the back, my guns and my jeans and t-shirt underneath. And, you know, you do what you got to do to get there quickly. And drive out there in my station wagon I had back there, 68 Impala wagon. You know, that's the funniest patrol car they ever saw. You know, But you know, you took what you had, and you know,
you got to get there. I mean, you don't have time to put your uniform on.
I remember getting there. Oh man, that was such an intense feeling. Sometimes imagine this. You know, we get called to this situation. This lady says, "Oh, that's just Rocky."
Yeah.
I didn't think was knocking at the door for a second.
No.
This lady says, "This guy's, she's afraid he's going to attack her."
Sure.
And there's a couple of guys in her front yard, and she needs help with it.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. Well, where her location was, we have to ask, what county do you pay your taxes in? Because the road zigzags from one county to the other, back and forth, all the way across that part of the county.
Yeah.
And of course, she paid in Sutter County, so we're on our way. It's so freaking thick. Fog, you can't see 15 feet in front of the car, and we're going like 75, 80 to get to her. We got both spotlights, one on the line, one on the white fog line over here. That's the reason they call that a fog line, you know. So we got these spotlights on, and we're flying down the road. Ain't nobody else out there but us, you know. And get there, and she's giggling and laughing. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, we're sitting there thinking we're putting our lives on the line to help somebody, and it's all a big joke.
Yeah.
The guys, it was a Mexican lady, farm worker type, and 3 farm worker guys that also worked for the same boss, but they lived in the camp. She lived in the mobile by the boss's house.
Yeah.
She had been flirting with these 3 guys. They were all drunk, and their attitude was, one of us is going to get you tonight.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You need to pick.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm not doing nothing with any of you, go away. And here she'd been flirting with these 3 guys all night. You know? I'm not putting anybody down. It was a rough situation for everybody involved. And then we get there, and we got an attitude all of a sudden, you know, because she's giggling and laughing. And these guys were just like, well, we'll just wander off in the woodwork because they see guns and badges. They don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. Know? Yeah.
And some of them, their green card is over there in their work pants, and they're all dressed up trying to swoon her. They got to go back and get their green card, you know. Yeah. Weird situation. Yeah. So, that's that intense feeling, and that's happened more than once, especially when they gave us 9 and 10. You're driving in that crap clear from one side of my beat all the way across the bottom of the county, over the river, through the gravel bypass, over to Robbins,
to somewhere,
to somewhere else, to something. It's like I remember one night it was like a yo-yo, calling 9, calling 10, calling 9, calling 10, calling, and it was like 6 hours went by like nothing.
Yeah,
it's like we're looking at each other going, what else could happen? You know. Burned up car, kids in the cemetery, you know, massive stuff. But, you know, you come home and you're satisfied that you did everything you could to make the world safe for a little while, or part of the world anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and that was very fulfilling for me. It totally outweighed anything I felt guilty of in my life.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
Know? And so, I don't know, I was pretty successful in all that, you know. And so, and then, you know, a lot of things happened along the way. Like when my kids started growing up, after I was out of the sheriff's department, we would be at places like football game for the high school, and they'd say, we want the veterans all to stand up. My kids are trying to make me stand up. And I'm like, no, I didn't. You know, you got an honorable discharge, Dad. You were a veteran. Yeah. You know, it made me feel guilty because I never went to a war zone, or I never even helped people in a flood somewhere. I mean, I did, but it was not as a military personnel of any sort. And so, you know, I felt guilty if they, but they would, my kids would literally, they'd stand up pointing at me. Yeah. You know, there might be 40 other guys standing up out there, so nobody's going to notice me, you know, but still, you know. Yeah. I just, so having the sheriff's department thing behind me made me feel like, I succeeded in serving,
Yeah.
society in a way that was a little different. But I understand where people came from. There's a certain amount of stress and trauma you can get out there too, depending on what you get in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Picking up dead bodies is not fun, and I always was the one that got volunteered to help the coroner.
Yeah.
Because I was on the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
The right guys.
Yeah.
But one thing I learned in that, like
Yeah.
people from car accidents or whatever, especially if they were out on the pavement, it was easier to do and stuff. Was that and pronouncing people dead that were hospice cases. We got called to that a lot, and so my partner liked to give me the practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Smart ass.
Yeah.
You need the practice.
Yeah.
This was the last thing you could do for this poor person in this life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And do an honorable thing for them was a good thing, even if it was just gently, calmly walking into a house, whispering to the family where going in, asking them to leave the room.
Yeah.
They don't want to see you pulling eyeballs up, shining flashlights in eyes, and checking pulses. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't want any of that. They know they're dead. So you try to be, and if you're respectful and quiet, things went over. And I got a lot of me and my partner, we got a lot of attaboys for the way we handled those scenarios. Handling it very nice. The car accidents things, of course, were a lot different and stuff, but some of that was rough.
Yeah, definitely.
And so even though I wasn't stacking bodies in Vietnam,
yeah,
I missed Vietnam by a couple of years.
Yeah.
I still had some trauma and some things, and I've lived through it, and I've got through it, and there's stuff that doesn't bother me anymore. I mean, I got trauma from driving truck, and I told you about that before. I got plowed into, and so for like 4 months after, every time I heard a skid behind me or anywhere near me, I'm cringing, because that truck skidded a long ways before he plowed in the truck behind me and shoved him into me. Kind of freaky. That was a freaky accident, but PTSD comes in
many shapes and forms.
Yeah. And people are now starting to realize it.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell you, I don't know if this is the place where Roger finally the other day called me.
Oh, wow.
He got 100% disability.
Oh, nice.
Now.
Good for him. Yeah. That's hard to do.
Now all of a sudden, the way they told him was, he got this big check from the American government.
Yeah.
He was like, what the hell is this for?
Yeah.
Then crazy. He got a letter like 2 days later, which was supposed to go first.
Yeah, that's usually how it works out.
And he was like, holy crap. And so now his wife has benefits and
That's good. Good for him.
They immediately sent him, without even asking him, they had given him this cream to put on his legs when he's getting he has an Agent Orange issue, okay? He already lost a kidney from it and this sort of thing. But he's got that leg nut thing, okay? And cramps, bad cramps. They were sending him this lotion. He says it helped a little bit, but not much.
Yeah.
He says, I couldn't sleep, but it would stop me from groaning continuously.
Yeah.
They sent him something, I don't know what it was, pills. He says, take one, and 5 minutes later, he's no pain. Doesn't hurt at all. And he says it's not, he can't take opiates. He's allergic to them. Yeah. So and part of that's probably from the Agent Orange. I don't know. I don't know if it's an allergy or whatever, but he reacts. Yeah. So he has to have opiate, pharmaceutical. They want to go with something like tramadol or something that's like heavy aspirin, So this stuff really works. He was so tickled to death. That's
good.
That.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah. It's always good to hear stories about the VA taking care of people, because you always hear so bad stories, or I've had bad experiences myself.
And I'm not political, but they've changed a lot of stuff with the VA, and Roger is a firm believer. He is so thrilled by the differences in the VA. He says, I've gotten so much more health care and attention. They're listening to my stuff and reading my stuff instead of just another file goes across the desk,
Well, I think it all depends on, too, where you go. Because, when I filed my initial claim, I filed it in Chico. And, 3 months later, they'd went through. But when I lived in Oakland, I would wait months for anything from the VA. And when I would go in there, it would be like people would have fanny packs full of pills, and they would call nurses by their first name and stuff. And
you didn't want that.
Yeah. Well, and they would treat you like a number. I would go in there and they're I would sit there and they're like, oh, you're going to meet your doctor. And it's cool. And it's 45 minutes later, I'm still just sitting in there.
Bill, what pain pill do you want?
Well,
I
it
mean,
was kind of like, yeah, they come in there and
that's what Roger said. They want to throw
yeah,
a pill at you and hope you die before you get your claim through.
yeah, and
I
then
mean, that's the way he felt for so many years until
absolutely, yeah.
the last few years. He said things have been a little
Yeah,
different.
it's been clean. It's been cleaned up, and I think it's good. You know, that the fact that like it's finally starting to get to that point where vets can go into places and like actually get care, or if they live far enough away, you can go to a private doctor because you're too far away from there. It's I think it's called the Choice Program. I'm not 100% sure on it. I'm not the person to be talking about it. I mean, I know people who work at the VA.
We just hope we don't have to have anything to do with that ever.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I go to like my yearly checkups and then that's it. I kind of I've talked about it before. Like I'm not a huge fan of the VA. I've just had bad experiences. You know, like
Well, yeah.
you just run into the wrong people
Well,
and then
you hear all these bad stories about these people who have filed for Social. My brother Rich trying to get his SSI. I went in for Social Security Disability. I got smart when I started my own business.
Yeah.
And I was, and that happened after I got well from that knee blown out.
yeah,
Of course, I lost my sheriff's department standing,
Yeah.
and I couldn't go back to either of my things. I mean, I probably could have gone back into the truck driving.
yeah,
I actually had looked at jobs and that and stuff, but later with other damage I had, I finally had to come to the conclusion of I can't legally go get a physical and lie and say my legs are fine when my legs were getting weaker and having other issues and
yeah, yeah.
and then the metal hip thing that I got. Oh, that's a whole new interview.
Yeah.
No. Finally I was, I'm down there at the doctor with my wife, and I'm going, so how long is it going to be before you think I'll be able to go back to work? Mm-hmm. And they look at each other, and they look at me, and start laughing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You got 6 discs in your lower back blown.
Yeah.
You got a hip replaced, a knee replaced, and that hip is disintegrating, and you think you're going to go back to work?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So is that a no?
Yeah. When I had my knee replaced, I just kept working. I was
Yeah.
like, no, it still works, so
Yeah.
I can work.
Yeah.
No, but no, I'm getting ripped up and stuff like that. So when I applied for my Social Security disability, I'm thinking, oh crap, there's people that go years and years and they get this enormous check.
Yeah.
Well, the date that I first got the hip put in was the date they went back to. Mm-hmm. That was the day that I became, because I never worked since that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well, that was like a year and a half before I would actually applied.
Yeah.
So they said, we'll go back to that date and start as to when your disability was. So I didn't even contemplate that it was 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, they were so swamped here in California
Mm-hmm.
that they were taking files, and sending them to offices that weren't busy.
Mm-hmm.
So my file went from Oroville to Little Rock, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
13 days later,
Yeah.
I got a check for $8,000.
Oh wow.
I was like, what the
Yeah.
hell
Where'd
is
this come
this?
from? Yeah. Yeah.
Then I got a letter saying, same way with Roger, that
Yeah.
it had been okayed,
Yeah.
and and this was your back pay to here, and
Yeah.
holy crap. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. I literally cried.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm tearing up right now just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But no, I was wondering what's going to happen to me and my family. And my wife still had her little business, but it was still pretty young. Then it was
Yeah.
barely a year in, and
Mm-hmm.
scratching and scratching and I wasn't going to be able to do as much for her. And it was several years before I really got to do stuff again till I
Yeah.
got that piece of junk taken out and a new hip put in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but losing my auto shop, I was like, damn, just another heartache.
Yeah.
Another reason I couldn't work,
Mm-hmm.
battled a leg, then and now,
Yeah.
But now I got my health pretty much under control. So,
Yeah.
did a lot to fix myself.
Yeah.
Finally,
Better late than never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, after things got settled with the hip, nobody would work on me to get that hip out
Yeah.
until I talked to an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Once the doctors found out that I was already pointing at somebody else, then they would help me.
Yeah.
But fear of jumping in the middle and me blaming them for something went wrong with fixing me,
Yeah.
they were a little leery of getting involved. And I can understand, there was lawsuits flying everywhere on this for a while.
Yeah.
Mine was literally deserved. I mean, really,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it did to me. So, yeah. Since then, I've tried everything I can to go back uphill. There's no way I'm going to work 40 hours a week.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah.
And so this falls along the line of God fixed my income.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother interview too. But basically, in getting a settlement that I never planned on having in my life, I ended up getting actually two of them. One I kind of knew was coming, but I didn't think when or whatever.
Yeah.
It could take years and years. We all know those kind of things happen.
Sure. Yeah.
The second one was an absolute surprise.
Yeah.
But that was, the judge got mad at the company.
Yeah.
Because their attorneys were doing some
shady stuff.
Yeah, they got busted in court. They got busted by the judge. They got busted. You know, so it's nice to have a judge on your side you don't even know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that first settlement paid everything off, so my mortgage was gone. So my Social Security disability income and Rory's little income from the store was livable.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and it was like, and I got 2 acres of paradise here. To spread out on, and I don't have to pay but my taxes on it. And I'm good, you know. It's like getting a raise because you don't have $600 to $800 a month going out just for owning, you know. So that really made it kind of nice, you know. And then the second settlement came in, and that was totally, everything was paid for. The vacation was done. I had a tractor. And so that's why I got this trailer we're in and the truck for fun stuff. And invested the rest in things to kind of make our life better for the time on.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, and then comes ended up with these 3 boys thing, you know.
And that's crazy. And so you touched on it a little bit earlier, but so you and your wife adopted 3 kids after you raised your children till they were adults.
7.
And you have grandchildren.
Yeah.
And then you decided to adopt 3 boys.
Well, at the time, I had 11, I had like 10 grandchildren when this all started about, all right?
Yeah.
But then our previous adopted daughter,
yeah,
who had disappeared out of our life, came back into our life.
Yeah.
And since then, she's had 2 kids. So, and she already had one. So now she has 3 more grandkids.
Yeah.
My daughter, who was in Italy, Air Force, she had a daughter. So I made another grandkid.
Yeah.
And now Richard, just about a month ago, had the little girl. So I have 15 now, 15 grandkids, and 3 sons at home. The 3 boys we adopted, and the Judge Robert was like, 3 boys? You're gonna adopt 3? Yeah, and 2 of them are teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your oldest child is how old?
He's 38.
And then the youngest that you adopted is how old is he?
8. 10 kids from 8 to 38.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Well, my youngest daughter is 30.
Yeah.
She's the one that lives in the house that we had moved on the back half of the property. Yeah. And so, so.
I mean, there's at least 20 years difference. 15 or 16 years difference between
Matthew's 15 and Caitlin's 30. So, yeah, there's a big difference.
That's crazy.
But I don't know why these boys came. With my wife, right off the bat, she hit it off with the oldest boy. He said some things to her after he'd been here about a couple of months. He started loosening up and opening up and trusting. And he said to her, why did I have a mom like that when I could have had a mom like you? Yeah. You know? And she says, well, you got me now. This is before adoption or anything. Yeah. We didn't even know then if we would be able to adopt him. We hadn't really given much thought at that point. Yeah, yeah. We were just doing foster care. We had already had some other boy, and he went his way. And then we got these 3. Yeah. We're going to get one of them. And she says, I thought there was brothers. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's another brother there, but he could stay where he's at. And she's like, why are you splitting him up? Yeah. Well, you have room for more than one? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. So they sent 2. They pulled him out and sent the 2 brothers, the older brothers. The younger one had already been moved to a place because he had some problems that made him a screamer and yelling at night. Of course, and big problems. And we've done a lot to take care of those problems. But so we got him the following July. We got those boys right at the beginning of December. Yeah. And so I think that was the reason that second settlement showed up. I mean, people say, oh, you're giving God too much credit. No. God has done a lot of things in people's lives that a lot of people are willing to give him credit for, me being one of them. And that is something, I mean, there was no reason for me to get that second settlement other than some attorney somewhere did something a little different and a judge caught him and got pissed. And, enough of us are suffering out here. That hip was pretty bad. I mean, I got
Yeah.
cobalt all through me. It just messed up my thyroid. I mean, I got messed up.
Yeah.
You know, so now that I'm fixed up a lot and got all of my system flushed, and it's been years, and I'm much better,
Yeah.
I can look back at that and say that was
came-
deserved, yes, but you know, the first settlement should have been enough to cover all that. The second one
Yeah.
was
Like-
kind of to help us with these boys, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It came at the right time. You know,
Right.
like I always believe there's no such thing as a coincidence. Like everything happens for whatever reason.
And sometimes you find out later.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a perfect story along that line. I'll tell real fast because you know, it's a little offshoot, but not too far. When my house got flooded in Rio Oso,
Yeah.
the Yankee Sioux levee broke. And this was 4 days before the Linda levee broke, and Linda got flooded.
Yeah.
Okay. I was on the levee behind my house. I'm 600 feet from my house, and I'm looking at it with a pair of binoculars, and I see that the water level is right below the windows.
Yeah.
And the bottom edge of the windows, and I'm like, oh crap! I just fell to my knees in tears and said, why? Why did this happen?
Yeah.
Okay. Jump forward a few weeks. I got back into my house. Water was gone. Started cleaning up, ripping the carpets out. Took over the burn pile for the ranch. This was private property ranch, belonged to my landlord, and all his other tenants split. So I helped him get the other houses empty too, because if the carpet just sits there and rots, it's going to mold.
Yeah, it's
and
gonna
this stuff's
mold.
got to pull out.
Yeah.
And there's hardwood floors under all. And none of
Yeah.
these houses had carpets when they were built back in the Depression.
Yeah.
And stuff. And you know, I just had to go. A lot of the clothes were ruined. A lot of the clothes could be washed. We lost a lot of like books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Things like. But when you first get there and you walk to the door and you see this, you go into shock.
Yeah.
Where do you start?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, I mean, first you got to pick up the foot and go in the door with it. That's
Yeah.
the first step. You slowly just work your way to finally grabbing stuff, throwing it on the trailer, taking it over the pile, dump it, come back, get the couch. It's soaking wet. It's ruined. Off it goes. You know,
Yeah.
and you're just throwing away stuff that you can't save. You know, and some things you find out later you could have saved, but you know, who had time to think
Yeah.
of all that? You had to get your life back together.
Yeah.
Fire up the wood stove, start drying the walls. Fortunately, it was a type of plastering on the inside of the walls, which was kind of like stucco.
Yeah.
So you dry the wood out on the inside, and all that stayed there. It wasn't like sheetrock where you got to rip it out, and the places weren't insulated, so you didn't have to worry about insulation.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of things you just didn't have to worry about
Yeah.
with these older houses. But I ran the wood stove like 3 weeks straight, just kept it burning, and it dried that old place out.
Yeah.
It was a good stove, good wood. And that was one thing, like my wood floated away, so the landlord told me where I could find some on his other property in stacks and just go get some. And I
Yeah.
just went over and got a couple cords and brought it to the house, and we had wood, you know. But I'm the only tenant that stayed. Everybody else just bailed and left their crap behind.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, several weeks later, when the people got back into Linda, I get a call from the church. We need you to come over and talk to us. Can you take these volunteer troops of Boy Scouts coming from Loomis and Sacramento and put them to work? What do you want me to do with them? Well, you know where to begin.
Yeah.
These people are going to be walking in their doors. They're going to be feeling the same way you did. What do? You know what to do.
Yeah.
Make them do it. Get them going. Get these boys helping them, and then go to another house and just do this till you help as many people as you can.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
the garbage trucks were coming from all over California, lining up on the streets to
Yeah.
haul this trash and stuff off. So we were hauling it to the garbage trucks.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was. At that point, I realized this is why it happened to me before them,
Yeah.
because he wanted me to help later.
Yeah.
At the time, I was like, why would you do this to me? You know, I wasn't mad at God, but I wanted to understand, and I couldn't see any reason for it. Now I realize.
Sure.
Because I could, in the next thing, I was already trained in the emergency to know where to tell these people to do and whatever. And so
Yeah.
experience is your best teacher.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Really,
Yeah.
you know. So,
Definitely.
Yeah. And so these people, and, you know, some of those people I knew, they went to church with me, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, just walking down the neighborhood, helping them, you know.
Yeah.
It was kind of hard going to this guy's house, and we drug out the Pinewood Derby track that he built and kept it. We saved it, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't even in the water that long. He had prepped that wood enough and built it. It was thick and solid.
Yeah.
That it didn't get much warpage or damage, you know.
That's good. Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. But,
Yeah.
but emptying freezers,
Yeah. Ugh.
yuck.
Ugh. Nasty.
Yeah, you know, no power. The stuff wasn't frozen much after the water got there.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
and,
Ugh.
Yeah, horrible stuff like that.
Yeah.
And these people had no idea what to do. They were just
Yeah.
dumbfounded. You walk in the door, the English have a perfect word for it. You're gobsmacked.
Mm-hmm.
It just hits you in the face to where you're just like, your mouth is hanging open and you're looking like, what do I do? You know? Well, anything from water level up was still okay pretty much, other than moisture you had to watch out for. But anything below that, you know.
Yeah.
Then I found out later how you could save books, but, you know.
It's too late.
Yeah. I had a first edition copy of Gone with the Wind, signatured by the author.
Yeah.
And it got destroyed in the water, and I didn't know I could have saved it, but
Yeah.
talcum powder and paper
Yeah.
between each page, you know. But I find this out later, and then you would have to go to a professional and have the binding re-glued and all that crap. But whatever.
Well, I mean, you've got other priorities going on. I mean,
I had kids
than a book. Yeah.
And I even had a dog.
Yeah.
It was so
exactly.
funny.
Yeah.
It was so funny. We had the boys were little then.
Yeah.
And they're 4 years apart, so we had this big teddy bear that was 6 feet long, and I had, unthinkingly, I picked it off the bed and threw it on Richard's bed, off the floor, and threw it up on Richard's bed, which had a mattress cover, zipped closed, waterproof. It floated around the house when we came back. It was still sitting on the mattress. It never got wet.
That's crazy.
It was saved the 6 foot
that's
teddy
funny.
bear. Yeah. And so, but the dog food can, I would take my dog food and I'd put it in it was an oil drum that was like a 15-gallon. So it was, about 3 foot tall. And bigger than a basketball, I just pour those 50s in there and put a lid on and set on the back porch. They were narrow and they'd fit in a closet back there on the back porch. Well, lo and behold, it was a quarter full. So when the water got higher, then it floated up and flopped on the side. So I had these little gravy train nodules that were like this big now, all over the house, like little growing things floated all over the wall. They were everywhere.
Yeah.
Little fur balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was gross, but it was funny.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. What is that? What are those?
Yeah.
It's dog food. Oh, shit.
That's great.
Interesting stuff.
It's just stuff like when a disaster or something like that happens, you got to take the funny stuff out of it, because, I mean, there's no reason to dwell on the past and be upset about it.
Get over the pain.
Yeah, and it's good to find little stuff like that makes you laugh about it.
Don't think back.
It kind of helps you deal with those type of things.
I came in a boat partway after it happened, because I was with the sheriff's department. They let me in because this was right after I got hired.
Yeah,
they let me in, and I went and got my dog. He was in the house when he had gone up the steps, so he was okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the water, but no food, no water. And
Yeah.
it was a couple of days before we got back in there. But dogs live a long time. I just opened all the chicken bins. They were all in the trees around the orchard, looking at me like, "Hey, when's this water going away?"
Yeah,
it'll happen. Trust me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when I was leaving in the boat, I felt like it was Noah's Ark. Cage full of finches and a dog and a cat.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they got along fine together.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But got out of there. But then when I went back and everything was wet, and then you saw what all was underwater. Oh shit! There's my motorcycle over there. Oh crap! It was worn out. I had worn that motor. It had 124,000 miles on that motor.
Okay. It makes it a little easier.
So if you had it on the kickstand, jack stand, not the kickstand, and you revved it, it would move. Just from vibration. It was that bad. It was going to blow up. So it needed to be rebuilt, or
that's what insurance is for. So
kind of, and then FEMA helped us too.
Yeah,
I didn't know that a vacuum cleaner and a phone are emergency items. You have to have those. That was the first thing they had on the list of emergency replacement. Was phone and a vacuum cleaner. I was like,
I didn't know that either. That's interesting.
Okay, yeah. Back then, I don't know what they got now.
Well, priorities.
Yeah. So it was kind of interesting. We didn't get much money, but they wouldn't buy my firewood, but they gave me $264 or $260 towards a new chainsaw to go cut more wood. And I was like, you don't give a man fish, you give him a fishing pole. Essentially, that's what they did.
Yeah.
Well, I went and bought a brand new saw, which was $264, so it cost me $4.
Yeah.
But actually, is that the train we're hearing?
Yeah. It's a train. Sorry.
I live near the tracks.
Train tracks. Yeah.
I hear them, but they don't bother me.
Yeah,
they stopped bothering me 20 years ago when I moved in here. Got over real fast.
You don't really notice it until it's like right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes they get right out here if they're going that way before they hit that intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there you
right
go.
There. Yeah.
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 You start hearing it, but it doesn't wake us up. There's enough insulation in this house.
Yeah, in the house, yeah.
We don't hear it much.
Yeah. Well, this isn't, the trailer's not very
I know.
insulated.
Yeah.
It's just the only place we could do this with the with the boys in school.
Yeah.
The boy. It's so crazy still. Yeah.
I'm 63 years old.
Yeah.
And I have an 8-year-old son.
Yeah.
Like, we go places and my wife comes in and these people will go, oh, is this grandma? And she goes, no, I'm mom. And they go, whoa, 8. Holy crap.
Yeah.
You know, they think she had a kid when she was like 49.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, I was reading something interesting about, I think it was like the 10th president actually has grandchildren that are alive today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting fact. But I was reading about it last night. It's crazy because like when he had his kid, he was like 67 or something like that. And then when his kid had a kid, he was in his same thing, like in his 60s or 70s. So, I mean, when he talks about, oh yeah, my grandpa was in, you know, the war, and they're like, oh, World War II? It's like, no, the Civil War. Yeah. It was just so weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is borderline on the strange. I mean, I knew a family before, and it was really weird how they were mixed up. And now it doesn't seem so weird because of birth and age and
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
Shaughnessy's what, 11?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I 11. Yeah, I think so.
Her uncle Skylar's 8.
Yeah.
That's
I was literally thinking about that because when I was over there yesterday, Shaughnessy and Matthew were hanging out, and I was like, "That's your aunt?" Like,
I mean, your uncle.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, your uncle. Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's just so weird. Like,
Yeah.
you guys are only a few years apart.
Well,
but,
you know, they want to say that's my cousin. And no, it's not.
No,
that's
it's
your
not.
niece. You know?
Yeah.
You know, oh,
It's just
that's
so
right.
weird. Yeah,
you know?
because I don't know. It's just weird with kids too. You know, like
Yeah.
most kids when you're roughly the same age, you're cousins. You know, just how things
Well,
work.
yeah,
You know?
your aunt and uncle or brother and sister or whatever to your parents, and so
Yeah.
you're going to be about the same age. You have children and you're the same year. Although, you know, like there's people who have kids, you know, they have, my friend Addison, he dated Caitlin a long time ago. We're still real good buddies, you know.
Yeah.
He's in Utah. He's got a couple of kids and stuff. He's got brothers that are almost old enough to be his dad, you know, because his parents waited till way later in life to accidentally have another child, you know, so he would go spend the summer with his brothers who already married and had kids and all this, and, you know, made friends out there. That's why he lives out there now, because his brothers had all moved to Utah, so he would go out there and spend time with them. Yeah. So now he lives in Utah too. His parents lived in Yuba City.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works out. Like Mandy and Matthew, they're brother and sister.
Isn't that weird?
But
you know?
I mean, Shaughnessy is almost as old as.
It's pretty good with Caitlin being here because she is the youngest of the girls. Of course, she's 30.
Yeah.
But she will come in there and they'll say like, "You're her sister. You can't tell us what to do." And she says, "No, but I could beat you into submission." And they're like, "Oh, okay." She's a pretty tough kid, you know. And Samantha, the other gal we kind of adopted, she's in the middle of the girls.
Yeah.
So in fact, her birthday is between Rachel and Sarah's.
Yeah.
Their birthdays are 8 days apart, but she's actually younger than Rachel.
Yeah.
And then she's older than Mandy. She's a year older than Mandy and a year younger than Rachel.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
when all 5 of them were in high school at one time, I was like, wow, you know, these guys are like, how do you do it? I said, you know what? When you have a boy, you have one boy to worry about. When you have a girl, you have a million boys to worry about. I had 5 million boys to worry about. So you want to date my daughter? Come on over and let me introduce you to my gun collection first. It was kind of a joke. So the kids, but we did first date, my house. First date was them coming and having dinner with us. I want them to see the family that they're stepping into. Not just the girl. coming out the front door,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's not like that, you know?
Yeah.
But also I wanted to know who they were with and what kind of person these were, you know?
Sure.
So, you know, they come over and they're dressed kind of nice and they were these kids, you know? They come over and they got a collar around their neck and they're all painted white and they got black eyebrows and stuff and black hair. You get a little leery. Are you a vampire or what? No, I'm goth. Okay, that's fine. Goth is better than vampire, you know? But no, we never really had. I just tried to be the cool dad, you know. And with these guys, it's a little tougher because I didn't raise them from little to where they are now.
You've only got them from.
We've had to unlearn them some of the crap, and we're still working with them on stuff. And then on top of that, okay, first off, they were taught a lot of stuff wrong.
Yeah.
And we've got to reprogram them, kind of.
Yeah.
Second, they don't know what's expected of them with us because they didn't grow up with us.
Yeah.
So everything that's expected from us, we have to teach them. So
Yeah.
unlearn, relearn.
Yeah.
And then some of the stuff they don't let go of. And then it also, in the tops of all that, these two have this syndrome, these two have this syndrome. You know,
well, like when we talked about earlier, PTSD comes in forms, you know, like we've talked about offline, and we're not going to get into it about you know, what happened beforehand, but like, I mean, these kids were really traumatized.
They've had, well, there is trauma that comes with things like even, and I found this out from my counselor I go and talk to, was that if a young person watches adults getting intimate, that's a traumatic situation.
Yeah.
Because at first they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Why do they not have clothes on? Why are they doing this? You know, is he attacking her? You know, they don't know, and it's kind of freaky. Okay, and so that in itself can cause some trauma. Okay, and it's a misunderstanding of what's going on.
Well,
versus,
they're children.
Yes,
I mean,
and children should not be
exposed to that kind of stuff.
Exactly, that's the word I was looking for. Exposed to those kind of things.
Yeah,
other things too. Them doing drugs, they see them mentally change their thing as they get under the influence of something.
Yeah.
This can really mess a kid up. Why is my mom acting like the Hulk? Why did she turn green and get all big and start throwing things? You know, they don't know. You know, it just shocks them. You know, and stuff. That on top of mom getting out, handing the baby to her older brother, his older brother, and saying, "Take care of him. I'll be back."
And then
that kid doesn't get enough hugging and loving the mom, so gets an attachment disorder. Yeah. And then the other kid, he gets a parenting disorder because he's 8 and he's having to hold a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to grow up before you have to, you know.
Uh-huh. And so we have had a hard time when Matthew first came, you know, there was things like getting him to stop being a parent.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't horrible, but
it's not your job. Your job is to be a kid right now.
Well, and you try to tell him, go ahead and be a kid. How does he dial back that clock?
Yeah.
He can't.
It's hard to. Yeah.
He can't. And then on top of that, he's OCD.
Yeah. It's
so, you know, and all three of them have this, what they call reactive attachment disorder, RAD, you know. And then Skylar, you know, he has ODD, which is oppositional defiance disorder. He wants to argue about stuff. And it's some silly, stupid arguments. I mean, sometimes you point it out to him, and at 8 years old, he finally goes, that makes sense. Why am I arguing about this? I mean, you know, he's arguing about the fact that you said yes to him having something, you know, that he asked for, you know.
Well, when you're used to having to argue for stuff.
For anything.
I mean, it makes sense, you know, just, you're in that normal habit of doing stuff, you know.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's a syndrome that they can never get cured from. All they can do, actually, that they can. Yeah. Because it's not always caused by drugs, or it can be caused just by the situation that you were in young. Yeah. But the RAD nobody can be cured from it. They can just learn how to deal with it, and part of that's when they're old enough, making them aware they have it.
Yeah. Well, once you mature and stuff, and you recognize that you do some of these things, you know, like hopefully you can grow and change from that.
Exactly. You have to keep it in mind and stuff. So, so it's been interesting getting to a place with these boys where we are right now. I mean, she got quickly into, oh shoot, they're going to come up for adoption. We can't let them go. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. I got a trailer. I got a truck. And I got Civil War states I want to see. What are you talking about? You know? Yeah. And I was like, when I was getting into foster care, we had other reasons to get into foster care. Yeah. It was a family thing. Yeah. You know, and we don't want to go there, but that remedied itself right as we got the license. So we were like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Let's help somebody. Of course, you know, we help strangers.
Yeah.
And then with these three here, the turning point for me was it's another
train. I must be that time of day.
I was in my shop, and I was sitting there, and I got a phone call.
Yeah.
On my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't reach your wife, so we're calling you. This is Child Support Division. And I'm like, why are they calling me? You know, my kids are grown, unless you've got money from my ex for me.
Yeah.
We need Samuel to come in for a DNA test.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Samuel needs to come in for a DNA test. We're making an association with a potential family member, and we need DNA to prove who's and whatever. And I'm like, whoa. So we get off the phone, and then my mind starts, crap, what's going on? By this time, we've already got Skylar. We got all three boys at our house.
Yeah.
They aren't adopted yet, but I got to thinking, I'm like, wait a minute. All rights have been terminated.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Well, they can't go after child support anymore, so why does it matter who's related to him and this sort of thing?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking immediately, the only reason they'd be doing this is if somebody stepped up with an attorney and said, I was not notified that this kid could be mine because I was out of the DNA pool suggested.
Yeah.
And I think the kid could be mine, and I want a DNA test because I have a right to this kid if he is mine.
Yeah.
And I'm, so then all of a sudden I start bawling.
Yeah.
No, you can't take Samuel away from me.
Yeah, it's too
Even
late.
though he's a pain in the butt to me, a lot of times he is the biggest pain especially with school stuff.
Yeah.
He can't, what will happen to him if he goes to live somewhere else?
Yeah.
What's going to happen to any of these boys if they go live somewhere else?
Yeah.
That was the turning point where I went and I was turning wrenches on my project car, and I said,
it's a nice car, by the way.
What do you want me to do, God? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
You need to soften my heart to the idea of these boys staying with me forever.
Yeah.
Or tell me where they're supposed to go, because I'm not going to, this is going to break my heart. I need to know where they're going.
Absolutely.
And at that point I realized that, I'm into adoption too. It was a little harder for me to make the adjustment. And so, with our church, people go on missions young.
Sure.
They also go on missions as seniors. And I had talked to her about maybe us going on a service mission.
Yeah.
Maybe we go somewhere and we just live there and they tell us who to go help.
Sure.
I'm a good carpenter. I'm a good mechanic.
Yeah.
Maybe I could go take care of a church motor pool somewhere.
Sure.
If nothing else, I can keep the records or diagnose cars or whatever. Yeah. Something like that.
Can help out somewhere.
Well, maybe this is our mission.
Yeah.
And in prayer and thought and discussion with my wife, we've come to the agreement and the understanding that this pretty much is what he wanted us to do.
Yeah.
We were professional parents, 7 kids.
Oof.
Okay, 3 more.
Yeah.
They need parents who can understand, who can get them the medical help, the mental help, the school help, all the help that they need, we can do.
Yeah.
She learned how to do it by taking on 4 more kids when she only had 2 when she married me, and we got custody of mine.
Yeah.
Rory, little banny hen, spread her wings out, pulled them chicks underneath, and now she had 6 chicks instead of just 2. And she could do it. So she could do this. She knew where to do it. She did it before. She had that experience. Now we know why she went through that and never balked at taking on my kids.
Yeah.
Never griped about us having them. Never ever wasn't mom.
Yeah.
Harder on some than others, but
sure,
doesn't matter. So she was prepared for this, and me, well, I look at my kids, how they've turned out. Nobody's in prison with 7 kids.
Yeah,
that itself is a success.
Yeah, that's a win. Yeah,
but
definitely.
They're all pretty good people. They're all loving. Every one of them, I can say that too.
Yeah, definitely.
Some are a little more strict than others. Some have some weird ideas about life, but they're all mine. They've all turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
I can't, live their lives for them, and I'm not going to judge what they do with themselves. But overall, as people, they're my friends. Yeah. They're pretty good people.
Yeah, they're good people.
Yeah, so
I've met most of them.
Yeah, so I have
pretty good people.
No regrets on anything with any of them.
Yeah.
Really, when I look back, I think we did a good job.
Yeah, definitely.
So I jokingly say, well, we're professional parents, so I can be a good dad to these guys. And Rory has told them, don't shut him down.
Yeah.
That guy has more knowledge in his pinky finger than you guys do in your whole brain right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not bragging or nothing, but she would say, she has said to them, there is a wealth of knowledge there that you guys need to open your ears a little bit. You might learn something. Mm-hmm. And so, Matthew was helping me with something the other day, and when we got done, I said, well, did you learn anything? He goes, oh, yeah. And
there you go.
Another time we were out here, we were living on the ground for the pool, and she went in the house, and she said, So how'd it go? And he goes, I actually learned something. You know, he said that. And so, you know, it makes me feel a little successful because that's kind of the dad job, is to teach them certain things about outside the house.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah.
Well, I think the biggest thing with like these kids is, you know, when they become adults, they're going to learn from everything that you guys did for them, and then hopefully turn that into them being kind to other people.
Exactly. What did I need these boys to be with? What did God need these boys to be with me for?
Yeah. So
is one of them going to be the president of the United States someday? Maybe
it's not. It's not a popular job right now.
No,
so.
But maybe not. Maybe so. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows?
Maybe one of them's just going to be an ambulance driver and save the right person.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
You know. But there's a reason, whatever it is, or we wouldn't be where we are.
Yeah, and I mean, service comes in all shapes and forms, as we've talked about today. You know, like you didn't make it in the Air Force because of reasons, so then you served as a deputy.
Yeah.
I mean, in a different way, and now you're serving yet again as, you know, a foster. Well, as a parent, being being as old as you are.
Yeah, we officially adopted him a year ago, September.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's so
that's
funny
awesome.
because a year to the day, I notice and nobody else does.
Yeah.
And I said, Rory, you realize what day it is? And she says, what? September 4th.
Yeah.
And?
Yeah.
And that's the day we adopted him.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, it's been an exact year, you know.
Yeah.
So then with that knowledge, she's like, boys, come here. And she gets them all in the kitchen. She's standing there with this sign behind us that has the boys listed on it.
Yeah.
That she put up the day we adopted him.
Yeah.
That says September 9th, 2019.
Yeah.
The village stepped up.
Yeah.
And then it had their names listed with Summers as their last name,
Yeah.
you know.
That's awesome.
And she goes, do you guys know what day it is? And they're all sitting there going, Wednesday?
Yeah.
Boys.
Yeah.
Clam heads.
Yeah.
So, and then she's like, points at the sign, and they're like, oh, it's been a year. Okay, see ya. And they go right back to...
Well, it's not as big a deal to them yet. And they're still kids, you know.
It is and it isn't. Samuel developed an ability to let everything appear to roll off his back, even if it bugs the absolute hell out of him.
Yeah.
Because if he showed that it bugged the hell out of him, I don't know what his bio would do to him.
Sure.
You know? So if he acted like something bothered him, she'd just keep on and on until he shined it.
Yeah.
Skylar is... he lives that way a lot, but boy, when something bugs him, it turns into wow, right now. And he's getting better and better as time goes, way better. I mean, we've had weekends of wow, the whole weekend, day and night. The kid would scream for 24 hours straight, and not know why he's doing it, and we can't talk him down. We try until he finally stops. And then now, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Sure. I'm going in there saying stop, and he'll put his head in the air and stare and act like he's choking to death or something. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
I've actually started talking to him about it. You know, look, you're 8. You're not 4 anymore. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's progress.
Catch up with your friends. Catch up with your cousins or your nieces and nephews.
Yeah, your nieces and nephews. It's still so crazy to me when I see them together.
They do have cousins. We do know where their uncle is. I've talked to him this morning. Even I sent him a picture of Matthew's straight A's. A 15-year-old kid in high school getting straight A's. That's a good thing from where he was.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But Matthew is OCD. Sometimes he just, and it's small stuff like something I left on the kitchen counter, which needs to go to the shop. So I tell him, just take it to the rear counter in the laundry room. Yeah. Because that's where I grab stuff on my way by to go to the shop. Yeah. Yeah, but it shouldn't be in the house. Just put it out there. Well, but it was on the counter. Put it out there. Yeah, but shouldn't it go all the way to the shop? Just put it out there. You know? And finally, one day I just said, drop the OCD and put it on the counter. Okay. You know, he was just letting it get to him a little bit. And most things, though, he's pretty good about. I mean, getting his good grades. He made a conscious decision to not be a con artist anymore.
That's good.
And I've used him as an example to his younger brother. Stop the con artist crap. Stop begging people. Stop trying to make people believe things. Stop playing the technicalities. I didn't say that. Yeah. No, but if you let people believe that, then that's the same as a lie
Sure.
to me.
Yeah.
You know, so getting him to understand those kind of things. But they're all a challenge, all three of them.
Yeah.
And we've had to be way more consistent with these guys than we were with our kids.
Yeah.
Our kids understood.
Yeah.
They didn't. And so if you don't stay on it, or if you make one relaxation, if you just even relax a little bit on something, boom, it goes so far the other direction. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. So anything they're tight with, you stay tight with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have conversations like this all the time, where it's just, you know, I mean, the more you learn about people, the more you see how people's lives are just like, everybody has a purpose in one way, shape, or form. And I've always felt like yours is you just serve people in general. Like we've talked about how, like in our personal conversations about like when you had your mechanic business and you would just help people, even if they couldn't afford to pay you.
Well,
you know, you would do what you could to
what
help.
I would say is,
Yeah.
I'm not working for myself.
Yeah.
I'm working for them. Even if they don't have any money,
Exactly.
I'm working for them. What would I do if they came to my doorstep and
Yeah.
you know, and they still do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's okay, you know.
Yeah.
I just, you know, sometimes I look at these shops and driving, you know, and I feel like I want to stop in and say to these guys, hey, if you need somebody to bounce something off of, call me.
Yeah.
You know, I'll share you. But then other times I'm driving along and I'm like, oh, yeah, I can fix that for them.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
I don't want to get involved anymore. I don't want to. And it goes along the line. I've heard these people before when I was getting into the automotive industry.
Yeah.
You know, I had previously done body and fender work way back whenever, but getting into cars and repairing them came after the knees. I was like, what can I do?
Yeah.
I'm very good with cars. Maybe I can go learn computer systems, which I drew the line in 1980. I didn't work on anything newer than that as far as computer systems. I would work on brakes and stuff like that, but anything newer than 1980 when it came to engine performance, stay out of it. Previous to that, points and condenser, I could set that stuff by eye.
Yeah.
You know, as far as doing carburation, I had that under my belt.
Yeah.
I tutored people in carburation in college, you know,
Yeah.
because they had no idea. They were fuel injection kids, and they were all 20 years younger than me too, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a whole different ball game. But anyway, when it comes to you know, like people wanting their cars fixed now, they ask all the time. I just ran into an old friend of mine that used to own a wrecking yard here, and he bought another car lot, put a house on it. He lived there and stuff. He lost 9 houses in Berry Creek. Sad story, but insurance, they were all insured, so he'll be okay. But yeah, he said, I was talking about the Chevy, and I'm working on the Chevy, and I'm getting close to being done. I mean, there's still a lot to do, little detail work.
Sure, yeah.
But once all that's done, wham, you slam the interior in, and she's going to be ready to go.
Yeah.
You know? And he said, well, I got a lot of old cars. He's been collecting all this stuff all these years. And he said, you know how to work on old cars. You know, it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still do that? It's like, no.
Yeah.
I don't do anything for anybody else till that Chevy's done. I mean, you know, I'll help people fix their cars.
A little bit here and a little
give
there.
you some advice over the phone up in Idaho.
Yeah.
Or, you know, go over and fix Mandy's car.
Yeah.
Happens so often. You know, it's like, I don't mind it. You know, that's my job. I'm dad.
Yeah.
COD. You know what that means? Call on dad.
Oh.
Not cash on demand.
Yeah.
It's a call on dad.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. But still having always been a servant of some sort.
Sure,
I mean, I've always felt like, okay, I am a type of warrior. I've trained different warrior than you have for a different type of war.
Yeah.
And we both know what it would take to have to do something to protect and stuff.
Absolutely.
And I've seen things where people say like, I'd rather be a wolf of Odin than a lamb of God. Well, I'm kind of a lamb of God, but I'm more like a sheepdog of God.
Yeah.
You know, I'll stay with the herd and I'll do what they do, but I will protect them when the time comes because I know how.
Yeah.
And some of these other people don't, you know. So that's kind of what I felt like might be a future need of me if something happens. We don't know what's happening in society. It's funny right now.
Yeah.
It's going upside down daily.
Sure.
And so now it's just like, you know, in the washing machine. Hopefully it'll all come out in the wash.
Yeah. Hopefully.
That's what we hope for, you know. So, like you said, the only other thing I got is serving people. I get a lot of ideas every day of things I can do. I mean, I get a letter from the mission over here where they need so many cents will help this many people have a good Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to help with that stuff, but I can't just send money to everybody that asks.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people asking it.
Yeah. Well, it's hard times right now with everything going on, especially out here in California.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's affected by, COVID-19 in one way or another. Then you have the fires that are here, like every year. It's constant, and
Orville just tried to burn down twice in the last week.
Yeah, it's
out there on the
crazy
other end
out
of
here.
town. You know where the bathhouse is?
Yeah,
somebody just torched that. And
then
the couple days before that, Thursday night, that happened Thursday, and a week Thursday previous, that whole on the other side of the river caught on fire, and they evacuated all that upper Orville and downtown.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and I mean sometimes. I mean, the answer isn't just throwing money at it, like sometimes you actually have to physically help people, but it's always hard trying to find where that line is because some people take advantage of situations like this. And then sometimes
the hard part is I've been taught at church when you say, how do I know who really needs help and who's, like who's homeless and who's a street person? They chose to live like this. They're just taking what other people could get free because technically they fall in that, and I don't like
that category.
In that category. I don't have a home, so I should get something free.
Yeah.
Well, if you choose to not have a home, or you don't have a home not by your choice, you're still homeless.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But the choose, it's kind of like, if you make your choice to pick up that hot horseshoe, then you chose to burn your fingers.
Yeah.
If you choose to reach for it and stop and go, is this thing hot? Or that's different. You chose to do it, so you get the penalty that comes with it.
Sure.
You chose to live out there without a home because you don't want to pay bills, and and you steal out of people's yards, and you hawk stuff, and you're constantly on the thief and begging and all that. You chose that life. Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. If you're willing to get into these, I just put a thing on Facebook last night about our illustrious governor saying something about the little houses. Okay, and it's along the line of, if we make all these little houses, then we can let these people live in them for free until they can get an apartment, and we can help them get jobs. No. Okay, he wants to help solve the homeless situation. That's an honorable thing. But the street people are going to mess that all up.
Yeah.
Because technically, they're homeless. And a lot of them are homeless for a reason.
Yeah.
And we need to find out what that reason is. And so if they get past... Well, street people become street people because they're trying to be under the radar for some reason.
Sure.
Warrants, back child support they can't pay. They're just wanting to do drugs and not have anybody judge them or stop them. Or they're on SSI and they want more money to buy drugs or whatever. So they don't pay rent. They don't pay PG&E. They don't pay for a phone. They get a free phone from... Everybody can get a free phone if they want to. There's a way. And then they get them, So those people, if they somehow get past the scrutiny because they have a warrant or whatever, and live in those little houses, after they fill it full of trash and mack it up and tear it all up and stuff, then they just boogie and figure I'll just move along. Like they do out in the woods here. They leave poop and dirt and garbage and junk they thought might make money when they're on meth, and when they're not on meth, what the hell did I drag that over here for? So they just leave it all behind and move to a cleaner location, and they don't clean up, and so it's just these places become nasty mess. And those are the kind of people doing that. Truly homeless, have lost their job, couldn't make their house payment, lost their house. They're trying, and if they get a help up and they come up to that level and stay there, those are truly homeless people. Those are the ones that should get these little houses and work towards whatever. And that I agree with. But how do you delineate? How do you differentiate?
It's a hard thing to do.
If somebody knocks on your door and says, I'm poor, I need money. How do I know? Who are they? Whatever. The church used to teach, help them all. Let God decide at the end what it was. Well, if you're helping all that you come across, then you could have sent the money over to a real organization over here that definitely knows who they all are.
Yeah.
Which way should you go?
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah. It's a hard choice, definitely.
And so, I don't believe in handing the people cash anymore. Like I've gone and people have situations and they're like, just give me some money. It's like, no, give me your PG&E number and I'll call PG&E and see if they'll let me make a payment for you.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's easier if I just, that right there was like, no, it's easier for you to come across the cash than to pay that PG&E bill, because if you pay it, now you can't go con somebody else into handing you cash.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds horrible, but there are people that live that way.
Yeah.
And I don't want to help that kind of person. They don't deserve that. Well, do they? They have another type of help they need.
Yeah, it's a different type of help that they need.
They need
to get out.
a type of health that will change their attitude back to wanting to be a productive member of society in some way.
Yeah, and that's always a difficult part when you have a feeling of you want to help people and serve others and try to keep doing that. It's hard being like, you see somebody in help, but the help that you can give them is not the help that they need. They need more of a different type of, like, a professional type of help. And not a lot of us are actually able to give that type of stuff.
I like to listen to the Spirit if I can, and I don't want to be religious to people, because you have their religions. We all believe what we believe, and we try to live that. And hopefully, if we're examples to others, they'll learn something from our religious standing or our religious teaching or whatever. Mm-hmm. All right, but I'm not one to go try to jam it down people's throats and say they're wrong if they don't agree with me.
Yeah.
But I like to listen to the Spirit. Perfect example. My friend Kenny, he came up, he was having a problem with his truck. I hadn't seen him since high school. So we wanted to see each other, and he was having trouble with the truck. I said, bring the truck here. Just leave it with me. I'll fix it for you. Mm-hmm. We'll find a way. We'll find out what's wrong.
Yeah.
Well, Kenny's like me. He was a deputy. He's a sign painter. He had that business all the time, ever since high school.
Yeah.
And so he's painted like the lion on the high school wall, and this kind of thing. And he advertising signs.
Yeah.
So he made me a deal. When my wife had the store, he said, if you can get my truck going here and do the head gasket and all that stuff, I'll paint on the side of your wife's store the name of the building up on the building, and I'll do a vinyl on her window. Mm-hmm. I was like, sounds like a fair deal to me.
Yeah.
And I said, will you let me pay for the vinyl? I mean, you're going to pay for the head gasket and all. Well, I tested it. Didn't need a head gasket.
Yeah.
He had ignition system problems. And, I made it run really good, fixed his, part of the ignition system was his crank sensor was having a problem.
Sure.
Replaced that. I made it run really good. He took it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, then he started having a problem with something else later. And I had never paid him for the vinyl on that. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it kind of bugged me. I thought, well, and time went by. And then one day I got this real strong feeling that I needed to pay Kenny for that vinyl. Mm-hmm. And I had come into some money, and I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was one of these settlements or whatever.
Yeah, something.
I wrote a check for $100, put it in an envelope, and sent it to him, and put 4 vinyl on the bottom.
Yeah.
He had said his prayers the night before. Where am I going to get this $100 I need to get that truck going again, so I can go get that sign painted? Because otherwise, I can't pay my mortgage.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Like I said earlier,
he
about
goes out the mailbox the next day. Here's an envelope with $100 from me. He's like,
yeah.
What the hell? But, and we're not the same religion or anything.
Sure.
I mean, I imagine we probably talk to the same God. I mean, obviously, somehow that message got across,
Sure, yeah.
But I got the need before he even said the prayer and mailed it, because it was there the next day. He said that prayer that night.
Yeah.
And so he said, this is the weirdest, because he contacted me. He said, this is the weirdest thing. I say a prayer one night, next morning there's a $100 check from you in the mail.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got my truck fixed, and now I'm on the job, doing this. I'm making the money.
Yeah.
And he's getting ready to retire and everything. But, it's funny how things like that happen. Mm-hmm. That's when you need to listen, when you feel that strong about
something.
Because he kept bugging me, and then it drifted on. And then finally it came to me, you got to do this now. It's like, if I don't do it now, I'll forget. There's some reason.
Yeah.
And I sent it. So, those are the kind of things that I wish would happen more often. When somebody knocks on your door, you get this feeling somebody's coming to the door.
Yeah.
And you're more than willing to open your wallet and help this person, because you know what they're going to do with it, And I've done that before with people. I've just gone, and my friend Danny, oh my gosh, I don't know how much to help him, but she wasn't working, and he got shipped home from his job driving truck with a spot on a lung and a problem, and he was just
a lot of stuff,
kneeling over in pain. Just hit him out of the blue.
Yeah.
Well, it turned out that he had a cancer and whatever. But until we knew all that, they were sitting there with no income.
Yeah.
They didn't even have the money to go to the doctor. But they didn't even tell us all this. I just kind of had this feeling, because they kind of mentioned it. And they were for some things to, like their microwave died, so they wanted to replace it. The boys, their grandma died, and we were going to go help empty the house and stuff. And Bruce, their uncle, said, "Take the appliances. I ain't hauling all that stuff to Vegas just to throw it away."
Yeah.
And he was coming to get her van, so I said, "Why don't you guys come over and see this microwave and see if you like it? If you do, you can have it because she doesn't need it and yours died."
Yeah.
And she was trying to start this new job, and she was, and she was in the house telling Rory how she was having problems getting the money together for gas, but she didn't have the heart to tell Danny because he's already depressed about not taking care of his wife, know. And so out there, I just handed Danny $80, and I said, "You put this in your wallet. This is money you might need for whatever
comes up."
And
yeah.
He owes me a bunch of money from when he worked for me before, and long story, but we ran into each other again, and I forgave all that, and then this happens, So he, gets home, and she's finally burst into tears. "I don't have the money to buy gas to go take this job I just got offered, and I need the job."
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, look at this.
Yeah, you never know how it winds up.
That's
being
the way
like that.
you want to be able to help people, that really need it, and their situation and stuff. And so that really, I felt successful at that stuff, and they've never asked for another dime.
Yeah, well, just little things here and there,
On top of it, now she's got cancer too.
Oh,
she had it before and beat it, now coming back. So they're in a mess. Those two,
hopefully
but,
hopefully they take care of that.
They're both getting treatment and stuff. He was taking some of these oral treatments they talk about when you have certain lung things that helps you, if nothing else, live longer.
Yeah.
And his tumors are shrinking.
That's good.
From this stuff.
Yeah,
so
that's
doing
awesome.
Much better.
Yeah.
She
good
hasn't let us in much more on hers situation since, but it's personal, I guess.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, we've covered a lot. I mean, we talk for hours and hours, and I don't think we've tried to stay on topic, which has been kind of good, but kind of rough, like, and I'm sure, like lots of people won't understand the conversations we have because they're not, they don't understand from being around here and stuff like that.
They don't know that Shaughnessy is your adopted niece,
kind
of, because
it's a big, like, we'd have to get a whiteboard and then like point out
here's
stuff.
Danny, here's his friend Mac, and here's Mac's wife Mandy, and here's me up there.
And but anyways, so I really appreciate you, sitting down, telling some stories, and we're probably gonna finish talking after this is done.
Because
But for everybody else out there, like, thanks for watching, all the support that you guys have given us over, I mean, the last few months we've been doing this, and like I always say, if you know somebody, or a vet that has a business or something along those lines, and they're interested, hit us up so we can sit down and interview them as well. And we'll continue in the next one, and we're gonna end it now, and we'll see you guys later.